ER Sports 97.3 ESPN WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Monday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. NBA Finals are tied 1-1. How on earth did we get here with that situation? We'll get into that. Plus, Phillies won 2 straight. What does it mean? Well, we'll get into that as well coming up here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Plus, I'll give you some thoughts on the Sixers because I think that where we are right now in the offseason, there is still a lot of moving parts. And I'll get to the NBA Finals in just a bit because what it has to do with the Sixers. But first, I have to get to the Phillies because the Phillies have finally won 2 games in a row, and they won it in most part because of their offense. It's not to belittle the effort the pitching staff has given you the last couple of days. You know, you could say that the pitching staff has done a phenomenal job at allowing them to have these offensive bursts. But for me, I always go back to what the man who made the roster said, okay? For better or for worse, Dave Dombrowski is the face of the organization in terms of what the plan is. Rob Thompson may speak to the media every day, but Dave Dombrowski is the man who sets the precedent of the narrative. And the precedent of the narrative for this organization is this. Dombrowski told us last year and this year, we have built this offense. The offense. We have built this offense with the idea that they are going to be good enough. The offense is going to be potent enough to overcome any of our shortcomings and our problems. Last year, the big problem was the defense. This year, it is the depth and the pitching staff. Well, this weekend was the first time that we saw that offense consistently give you something. Now, I understand it was against a not so good team in the Nationals, but I hold to the premise that you have to beat who's in front of you. And you split the 4-game series with the Braves. You won 2 out of 3 with the Nationals. In theory, you probably could have swept the series, but it didn't work out your way. If you just would have won 1 game against the Mets, the road trip would feel differently. But instead, it was bookended by 2 very different situations. 2 in Atlanta, 2 in Washington. Now you come home against the Tigers. But the good news is you're coming into this series against the Tigers with Schwarber hitting home runs, Real Muto hitting home runs. Ellis has come out of nowhere and given you a little bit of offense yesterday as well. You're doing all this with no Alec Boehm till I'm assuming a couple weeks because of the hamstring strain. You're doing this with no Rhys Hoskins for the year. Who knows when Derek Hall is coming back? Trey Turner has not been Trey Turner since the middle of April. This could be the turning point because Kyle Schwarber seems to hit his best when he is in that leadoff spot and when he's in the month of June. So maybe it's a perfect pairing for him right now. And Castellanos, one of the league leaders in batting average. And if Real Muto is starting to heat up, can those 3 guys be the complement to Bryce Harper that's needed to get you to the next level? I think they can be. And I think that is why we are in this situation. Look, I know it's not ideal, okay? I know it's not what people want to see because optically, as a baseball fan, you look at a lineup because we all grew up. Look, if you are over the age of, I'll go with like 30 years old, maybe even 28, okay? If you're over a certain age, and I will go with 30 years old. I'll go with 28, okay? If you're over the age of 28, we all grew up in a world where the leadoff hitter was the man who set the table and got things going for your team. So that's how we look at the leadoff hitter. We don't look at the leadoff hitter as a guy that looks like Kyle Schwarber. But Kyle Schwarber in his career, he has basically 1,000 at-bats as a leadoff hitter. He has 255 games as a leadoff hitter. The second most in his career is the 6-hole hitter. 81 of his home runs have come as a leadoff hitter. Just to give you an idea of how much that is, the two spots he has batted in, the second and third most in his career, 6th and 5th, combined don't have 81 home runs. The 5th and 6th spots in the lineup, he combined has 59 homers. 81 as a leadoff hitter. Furthermore, historically, June is his best month. He has hit 49 home runs, including the 2 yesterday, in the month of June. The most he has in any other month is the month of August, 43. So assuming the trend continues, that Kyle Schwarber continues hitting home runs, having him in the leadoff spot and having him hit there for the month of June historically seems like the best idea. And again, I know that those of us of an age, 28 and up, we look at baseball and we think of leadoff hitters as Ricky Henderson, Kenny Lofton, Lenny Dykstra. We think of our leadoff hitters as players like Johnny Damon. We think of our leadoff hitters as a certain prototype of player, a guy who gets on base, a guy who has speed to be batted in by the second and third slots. Jimmy Rollins won an MVP, right? Ricky Henderson won the MVP. These are what we think of as leadoff hitters. Kyle Schwarber is a 6-foot, 230-pound Schwarbarbarian who hits bombs and has trouble chasing down a ball in left field because he's not that fast. But for whatever reason, the Chicago Cubs got to a World Series with Kyle Schwarber as their leadoff hitter. The Phillies got in the World Series and he was their leadoff hitter. So for whatever reason, these teams look at him and they say, whether it's Chicago or Washington or Boston or Philadelphia, he's a leadoff hitter. So we just have to accept it. This is who and what he is. And in the month of June, he has his best month. And the best place in the lineup for him is leadoff. So you know what? Let it happen. I'm rocking with it. I'm rocking with Schwarber helping to carry this offense for this month. Because this month is an opportunity for the Phillies to finally get out of the malaise, to use the term, that they have been in. Mike Gill used it earlier on the Sports Bash. Billy Schweim used it in the locker room this weekend. Maybe it's a term that's used for people who are over the age of 40. I wouldn't use the term, but I'll use it here. Because the Phillies, as far as I'm concerned, have been a roller coaster ride. Trey Turner, for whatever reason, had his best run to early to mid-April. Hasn't done well since. And it reminds me of Nick Castellanos last year, when Castellanos' best month was August. What do both of those scenarios have in common? What did we open every show here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN talking about, and on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle? What did I, Josh Hennig, talk about every day? What did everyday Mike Gill talk about on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN? In April, it was Eagles draft, Sixers playoffs, Phillies back burner. What did we talk about last August? Every single day here on 97.3 ESPN. Eagles training camp, Eagles season, NFL. So these guys have the, shall I call it, misfortune of having their most productive times in a season that is not going well for them at the worst possible time for you, the sports fan, to pay attention. But now you are, because outside of the NBA Finals, which has two teams that people have conflicted feelings about, outside of a Stanley Cup, which the regular person listening to the sound of my voice doesn't have an aggressive a connection to, unless you have a betting interest or a personal rooting interest. Like, for example, I want Vegas to win the Stanley Cup because I think that they're a fun team to watch. I enjoy watching guys like Marchessault and Stone and all the guys out there. And I just don't care for Florida. I think the Panthers are one of those teams that are very fortunate to be here because they played a lot of teams that basically allowed them to get here. You know, the Bruins and the Maple Leafs are better teams, and the Panthers are not as good of a team. And Kachuk is turning into a fun villain, but I just don't care if they win or not. And when I listen to the game on tonight on 97.3 ESPN, coverage begins at 7:30 tonight for the Stanley Cup Finals. I'll have a rooting interest in Vegas. But I'm sure a lot of you look at a team like in the Stanley Cup and you're like, I'm not overly invested. So right now, the Phillies are front and center. They come home with a 3-game series against Detroit. Then they get a day off and they welcome in the Dodgers. And then they have to travel on a road trip that is going to be daunting. 4 games starting next Monday against the Diamondbacks. And then they got 3 games in Oakland against the miserable A's. So you have a bookended schedule here. Detroit for 3 games at the beginning. The Oakland A's bookended for 3 games at the end. Teams you should beat. Teams that you should win at least 2 out of 3 games against. And in the middle, you have the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, 2 of the better teams in all of baseball. Your hope is that with the offense turning around, you should be able to win at least 2 out of 3 against Detroit, especially with a guy named Wentz pitching tonight with a 7 ERA. And if I know anything about Philly fans, they are going to boo this guy mercilessly because his last name is Wentz, even though he is not Carson Wentz. But then on Friday, you don't have a starter scheduled. It's TBD. Probably another bullpen game with Matt Strahm out there. But then Saturday, Sunday, you have Suarez Nola. So in theory, you should also be able to win 2 out of those 3 games because guess what? The Dodgers are also TBD for that game on Friday. So then when you hit the road, you should have won 4 out of 6 games, allowing you to hope to split the difference in Arizona against, as I said, one of the better teams in all of baseball. You saw them already recently. You know how good they are. And then you go to Oakland to play one of the worst teams in baseball. So if you can get through this stretch coming up, and the offense is what you saw against Washington, that means when you come back home on June 20th and you play Atlanta and the Mets in back-to-back 3-game sets, you are in a position to keep making moves in the standings. Because right now, the Phillies are not hopeless. They are not out of it. Yes, the record says they are 27-32. But the wild card standings say that they are 4.5 games out of the final wild card spot. And the teams ahead of them all have losing records or 500 records, including the Padres, the Giants, and the Marlins. I'm sorry, and the Mets. The Marlins are 32-28. I kind of conflated the two teams in my eyeballs there. Bad job on my eyes there. I blame my eyes on that one. But the Marlins, they're above 5. But the Mets, the Giants, and the Padres are all either at 500 or below 500 records, just like you. There's no reason why, if you win a chunk of these games coming up before you get the Mets and the Braves, that you're not about 2.5 games or better out of that wild card spot. And frankly, as long as you are within 3 games, 3 to 2 games by the time you get around the All-Star break, you're going to be roughly around where you were last year. And we all are aware that you know that at least 2 teams are coming out of the NL West. And the assumption is that 2 teams are coming out of the NL East. 1 team wins the Central, and the rest is up in the air. That means the Phillies have just as good of an odds as anybody at making the postseason. And if Kyle Schwarber is the June Schwarber that we know, and JT Realmuto catches a little fire, and Castellanos keeps being one of the league leaders in batting average, it's going to make Bryce Harper's job a lot easier. And they can keep this ship afloat until they get Alec Boehm back from injury, until they figure out this dumpster fire of a pitching staff situation that they're in. Because Ranger Suarez is actually giving you 2 good outings. So we know that he's coming around. The question is, which version of Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler are you getting? Nola pitches tonight. Nola's last few games, he has been 2 sides of the same coin. The last game, he gave up 2 runs. The game before, he gave up 4. The game before, he gave up 2. Then 5, then 4. Inconsistent as anybody in baseball. But you know, he's giving you in every one of those games at least 6 innings. So he's going out there and giving you innings. He's just not always giving you a quality start. He's not always giving you a winning effort. So what are you going to get from Aaron Nola tonight? That's a huge part of this conversation. And then Wheeler, I mean, he threw a gem against the Braves, and then he implodes against the Nationals. Now, it wasn't all Zach Wheeler's fault. As I brought up in the past, you know, if Schwarber and Marsh don't misplay those balls in the outfield, maybe Wheeler has a different line at the end of the night. You know, maybe that game goes differently. Maybe instead of giving up 7 runs, he gives up like 3 runs like he did against Arizona a couple starts ago. Wheeler's another one. 7 runs, nothing, 3, 4, 1. Up, down, up, down. You don't know what you're getting. But if the hitting can stay up to the tier that it's at right now, there is hope for this team. I am Josh Hennig here on GameNight 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how I'll check it on text board on the other side, 609-403-0973. That is the text board. You can also DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how coming up next, NBA Finals tied 1-1 as you heard it here last night on 97.3 ESPN. What does that mean for the Sixers? Well, there is a specific takeaway that I have from what I saw in the last 2 games for the 76ers moving forward. I'm Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Monday night, the Power Hour known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN.
the NBA Finals on ESPN Radio.
Murray step back for the tie at three. No good. Rebound Miami.
The Heat get the critical split in Denver. Now the series heads to Miami. Can the Heat make it 2 straight? Or will the Nuggets bounce back and retake the series lead? The Finals, Game 3 of the Nuggets and Heat. Coverage begins Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the NBA Finals exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
With summer savings at the Home Depot, we'll get your kitchen clicking. With top brand appliances, like a new GE refrigerator with internal water dispenser for a crisp, cool glass of water every time. Or a GE oven with built-in air fryer for healthier, crispier options with no preheating. Plus, with convenient shopping in-store and online at the Home Depot, your innovative new appliances are just a click away, too. Final days to save up to 30% on select appliances plus $300 off select refrigerators at the Home Depot ends June 7th. Pricing valid May 18th through June 7th, 2023. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Wendy's Strawberry Frosty is back for the summer. Because if it's summertime, it's Frosty time. Beach time, Frosty time. Tea time, Frosty time. Me time, Frosty time. Treat yourself to Wendy's Strawberry Frosty this summer and make time for Frosty time. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's. Now open till midnight or later.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Progressive protects more than just your home and car. You could save when you bundle your motorcycles, ATVs, boats, and RVs. Doesn't that sound good? Like the sound of your boat cruising along the Intercoastal. And there's the sound of the prop hitting a really big rock. And now the sound of waves, because the engine stopped. But you know what does sound good? You're covered with Progressive. So bundle all your vehicles and home in one place and save with the multi-policy discount. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or apply stop to opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text PLACE to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text PLACE to 200-300 right now. Text the word PLACE to 200-300. Don't wait. Text PLACE to 200-300.
Can I help? Who's next?
Tom's part-time barista is now a full-time actor.
Oh, you didn't hear. He got the part on Broadway. Yeah, great for him, bad for our finicky cold brew tap.
Now he needs a star understudy to fill his open role.
And he made the best grande triple shot with oat milk caramel.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Business owners trust Jenkins, too, for light commercial services. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services. Call now and learn about rebates through the HVAC Energy Efficiency Program, brought to you by South Jersey Gas. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Monday night here on Game Night, hanging out with you. Don't forget we have the NHL Stanley Cup Finals tonight. Coverage begins at Game 2. Vegas versus the Panthers, 7:30 here on 97.3 ESPN. NBA Finals back on 97.3 ESPN. Game 3 on Wednesday night. Coverage begins for that. Also begins at 7:30. Game Night being brought to you by our friends over at Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Just call the folks that have been doing it for over 40 years. Jenkins & Sons is the one to call at 609-641-6440 for new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, drain cleaning services. Just call Jenkins. Again, 609-641-6440 and online at jenkinsandsons.com. I mentioned before the break, watching the NBA Finals is giving me always a little insight in about different things with the Sixers. And if there was never a more obvious moment than last night's game, in conjunction with the first game, it's this. Your supporting cast really matters in basketball. We have woefully underrated, and we have allowed the talking heads on television to tell us sports fans how to think and how to look at sports through the improper lens. Your superstar doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can have anyone you want. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum. It doesn't matter. Unless your supporting cast steps up in their supporting role. Last night, Nikola Jokic finished the game with only 4 assists. And Eric Spoelstra can poo-poo the question all he wants. It was very classless of him to shoot down the question the way he did last night. But the reality is that the Denver Nuggets have now lost 9 straight games when Jokic has less than 5 assists in a game. He had more turnovers than assists. Did he score 41 points? Yes. But his team could not support him around him. He scored 41. But Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon combined for 30. In fact, the entire rest of the starting lineup got 41 points last night. That's not good enough. You cannot win an NBA game if your supporting cast is not supporting you. And they were very fortunate that Jamal Murray had a chance to tie that game last night with a 3 at the end. But instead, Murray didn't make the shot, and the Nuggets go on to lose the game. Jimmy Butler did not lead his team in scoring last night. Gabe Vincent did. Butler and Adebayo both had 21 points. Vincent had 23. No Tyler Hero last night, but Max Strus, he had 4 threes. Gabe Vincent had 4 threes. Kevin Love had 2 threes. Duncan Robinson, big 10 points in 17 minutes. Even Kyle Lowry came off the bench and got you 2 threes. Well, what happened in the first game? The first game, everything that I just said didn't happen for the Miami Heat. And it happened in reverse for the Nuggets. Yes. In game number 1, Max Strus went 0 for 9 for 3. Duncan Robinson went 1 for 5 from 3. You were outscored by the Denver Nuggets in that final quarter, you were outscored by the Nuggets in the second quarter, 30-22. You only caught up because Denver took their foot off the pedal and made the final score look better. Because what did Denver get in the first game? Jamal Murray had 26 points. Jokic had a triple-double. 27 points, 14 assists, 10 rebounds. You got 2 threes from Bruce Brown in that game. You outplayed the Miami Heat in that game. Buzzer to buzzer. Why? Because when Jokic passed people the ball in game 1, they made the shots. When he tried to pass it to them in game 2, they were not making the shots. In other words, your supporting cast matters. And this brings us back to the 76ers. Your priority this offseason, with a new head coach in tow, is to put the best team possible around Joel Embiid. Because we're seeing in the NBA Finals that Jokic is nothing without his teammates, and Jimmy Butler is nothing without his teammates. Just like Michael Jordan still had to pass it to Paxson and Kerr and everybody else to win some of those games. The superstar can only do so much. We as a sports fan base have been manipulated and lied to by the talking heads on television to believe that the only thing that matters are superstars. But at the end of the day, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker couldn't get out of the second round because their supporting cast might as well have been me and you listening on 97.3 ESPN FM. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving couldn't make the postseason because their supporting cast was not good enough. The Mavericks and the Suns traded their entire depth on their bench and on their team to get superstars, and they paid miserably for it. Meanwhile, the Lakers upgraded the supporting cast around LeBron, and that's how they got to the Western Conference Finals after being one of the worst teams in the Western Conference until the trade deadline. We have to stop acting like these superstars win it by themselves. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if it's the person listening on 97.3 ESPN FM shaking their fist at the radio, listening on 97.3 ESPN mobile app, shaking their fist at their app, their computer. I don't care if it's Stephen A. Smith on television or Kendrick Perkins on television or Charles Barkley on TNT or whoever. I will go to the ends of the world arguing this. I don't care who your superstar is. If the team around him is not built properly, you ain't winning nothing. And that is the lesson the Sixers have to learn this offseason. You have to give Joel Embiid the weapons and the resources to win. Because we're seeing in the NBA Finals, literally, Miami doesn't give Jimmy Butler the support they need, they lose the game. In game 2, they give Jimmy Butler the support he needs, they have a chance to win the game, and they do. Denver gets a great effort from Jamal Murray and others in game 1. Doesn't get the same production for Jokic in game 2. He goes out and scores 41. Doesn't matter because his teammates didn't help him. We have to stop discounting the importance of a supporting cast in sports. We have to stop obsessing and salivating like we're TMZ over every single star player in this league. Because there's plenty of star players who never won a championship. Charles Barkley being arguably the most famous. The reason why James Harden has not won a championship is because James Harden had to carry those Rocket teams in Houston, and he got them to the very edge of an NBA Finals appearance, but they couldn't get there because he and his teammates couldn't make shots in those games. And at what point are we going to tell James Harden, James, what do you really want? I would honestly ask James Harden, what does he want? If he wants to win a championship, then he needs to swallow his pride and do what's best for the team. But if he just wants to make money and spend more time with his mom in Houston and go clubbing, then James, do your thing, man. Just don't do it here. Sixer fans are dying to win a championship. I have not run into a single Sixer fan over the last several years who has not talked about how, man, we can't even get to the NBA Finals. Man, I just want to win a championship. Man, I just want to get out of the second round. I'm tired of seeing fill-in-the-blank team win championships. The reason why Sixer fans held so tightly onto the idea of LeBron maybe coming to the Sixers when he was a free agent years ago was because they looked at LeBron and said, well, LeBron gets the NBA Finals everywhere he goes. He did it in Miami. He did it in Cleveland. He can do it here. They hold so tightly to this idea, this vision of everybody else is having success but us. The Miami Heat have been to more NBA and conference finals than almost anybody else since 2006 in the Eastern Conference. It's insane. Celtics have been to the NBA Finals with two very different rosters and coaches in the last, 15 years? Miami Heat, been to the NBA Finals with three different rosters in the last 20 years. Milwaukee Bucks, they've gotten there. The Toronto Raptors, they've gotten there. But the Sixers have not. Sixers are still waiting, hoping, praying, wanting, frustrated. This organization has to give Joel Embiid the talent, the players to support him. I don't mean superstars. I mean people like Bruce Brown and Max Strus. I mean people like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Gabe Vincent. Remember when the Mavs won an NBA championship years ago? You might not, but if you do, I clearly remember who was the star of that series. It was J.J. Barea. Dirk Nowitzki, he's the Hall of Famer. Jason Kidd, he's the Hall of Famer. But no, it was J.J. Barea that helped them win a championship. And they beat LeBron and the Miami Heat. When Nick Nurse said, I came here for Daryl Morey and Josh Harris, he believes that these are the guys that can get it done. Remember this from Nick Nurse last week?
I took the job because of these two guys and their track record of all of it. I mean, listen, I think that, again, I'll get a deeper dive and deeper look at what we actually have and are gonna have going forward later in the summer. Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to go super deep into what we have until we know what we have. I'll go super deep into guys we know that are coming back and what skills and things that they may need to develop between now and training camp. But no, I took the job because of these two guys and the players.
He's only pointing those guys because he looks around the league and he says, you know what? Milwaukee's got a ownership issue. Phoenix has got an ownership issue. That Josh Harris Philadelphia is way more stable. I just came from Toronto, and they're rudderless. They're rudderless, I should say. And Detroit overpaid Monty Williams to come there. I know some of you don't like Daryl Morey, but the reality is that some of you can't even name the rest of the GMs in the league. You know Daryl Morey because he's your GM, your team's GM. The reality is that Daryl Morey is not responsible for the mess that we're in. You know, I was on the locker room with Billy Schweim on Saturday on 97.3 ESPN, and his guest he had on, very passionate, and Billy was very passionate. Everyone was very passionate, but the passions got the best of them, and they lost track of reality. The reality is that Daryl Morey, depending on who you ask, is either the fourth or fifth different person in charge of building a roster in this city in the last 10 years. Do you really think that Nick Nurse was coming to the Sixers if Brian Colangelo was the man in charge? No, he wasn't. Because Brian Colangelo is one of the three stooges that got lost in history and was reborn 30, 40 years later. He's propped up by his father. Brian Colangelo did more damage to this organization than anyone has ever done. But because people are so frustrated and so emotionally angst about this team, that they think that it was Sam Hinkie to Daryl Morey. I had to correct people on Saturday. I'm like, no. That's revisionist history. The process wasn't a 4 or 5 year deal. Sam Hinkie was forced out because Brian Colangelo wanted to give his son another job. The mob basically took over the Sixers organization for a couple of years. The Sixers went from being a basketball organization to being the family business. And the family business run amok. You signed Jared Bayless, you trade away draft picks, they get a player you could have had number 3 overall and Markelle Fultz anyway. You tell the media how stupid they are with your fancy suits. That's who you should be mad at. You know what Morey did? He got rid of 2 abomination contracts. He'll probably get another abomination contract this year. All contracts he didn't sign. Tobias Harris, he didn't sign it. Al Horford, he didn't sign it. Josh Richardson, wasn't his decision. So if Nick Nurse says, I'm here because of this guy, I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to give Daryl Morey the chance to show that he can do for the Sixers what the Nuggets did for Jokic, what the Miami Heat have done for Jimmy Butler. Put the prerequisite people around these guys in order for them to be successful, because a player unto himself is not an island. There is no I in team. You need the team to win a championship. And anyone who doesn't accept that reality is not watching the same game that I am. Nikola Jokic has now lost 9 consecutive games when he doesn't have at least 5 assists. I don't think that's an accident. Why is it not an accident that when James Harden has fewer than 4 assists, he is almost undefeated in the postseason? Is that an accident? I don't think so. You need your teammates. You got to get them the ball. If you're turning the ball over and they can't score, you are up creek without a paddle, my friend. Sam and Avalon, I will get to your text on the other side. Also, your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. Seattle, the text board is open at 609-403-0973. We will check in from Sam from Avalon. Coming up next, Josh Hennig here, the Power Hour, known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Stanley Cup Final on Sports USA, and we're in the Desert Oasis as the Florida Panthers come to Las Vegas to try and take down the Golden Knights. This pride of Panthers are led by Barkov, Verhaeghe, and Tkachuk. The Knights' D has been coming up aces with Pietrangelo, Martinez, and in the net, Aiden Hill. It's Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final, Panthers at the Knights, tonight on your home for the Stanley Cup Final, Sports USA.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's sports leader.
0 down, 0% financing, and $7,000 off MSRP on every clearly marked Matt Blatt Nissan in stock.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Stuck in a loan or lease? AJ the Trade Man can get you released, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, with 0 down and 0% financing on every Nissan Rogue for 36 months, even 0% for 60 months, plus $7,000 off MSRP on every Nissan Titan in stock. And don't forget, AJ the Trade Man will get you more for your trade, so you can drive a brand new Nissan. And of course, a Matt Blatt Nissan peace of mind. 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 6/3/2023. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Streaming June 8th on Peacock, a new original series called Based on a True Story.
She is the victim of the West Side Ripper. It's him. I know my killers.
Variety listed among the most anticipated shows of the summer.
But if we make a podcast about this, we could bring him in on it.
Bring the killer in on what?
The podcast.
From the Emmy Award-nominated producer of The Boys and the Emmy Award-nominated executive producer of Ozark.
Are you in danger?
No, I'm hiding something.
We are in too deep.
Starring Kaylee Cuoco and Chris Messina. A new original series called Based on a True Story. Only on Peacock.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play. Stop, opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now, you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text PLACE to 200-300 for your free consultation on top-quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right. You don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text PLACE to 200-300 right now. Text the word PLACE to 200-300. Don't wait. Text PLACE to 200-300.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. What, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig, 73 ESPN, and the free mobile app.
Here for you guys out there. I see Sam and Avalon, Dan and EHT. Let's get to your guys' messages now here on the Power Hour known as Game Night. 609-403-0973. That is the text board. You also can DM the show through the mobile app, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Download for free from the Apple App Store or Google Play. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle. Don't forget, on 97.3 ESPN.com and on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, my latest article about how Jason Kelce is bringing Beer Bowl to Sea Isle in a couple of weeks. Yes, Sea Isle, New Jersey is going to host the first annual Jason Kelce Beer Bowl. Get all the details over at 97.3 ESPN.com and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. on the text board. Sam in Avalon, which is right below Seattle, chimes in at 609-403-0973. Says, hey, Josh, I think we need to clean house with Embiid. If I were the coach, I'm selling everything now and building around Maxey instead of Embiid. This postseason has proved that he is the equivalent of the New York Yankees in the last few years to basketball. It's a regular masterclass, just how to choke and not do well each time we reach the postseason. We haven't made it to the conference finals in over a decade. Clean house, get rid of Harris, Embiid. Don't let Harden come back. Start over with Maxey. That's from Sam in Avalon. A couple things, Sam. Number one, starting over is easier said than done because you have no draft pick right now. See, if you're going to start over, you do it after next season, Sam and Avalon. Remember, I looked this up and I double checked it. Here's the deal. The Al Horford trade, you trade a first round pick, which is top 6 protected. You can get that draft pick back if you implode the team after next season, not this season. So if you want to do what you're saying, implode and build around Maxey, this is not the offseason to do it because you don't have your 2024 first round pick. You could recoup the 2025 first round pick, but you have to be bad during the 2024-2025 season. So the value of you imploding right now is not there, Sam and Avalon. Now, I understand where you're coming from. You look at Embiid and say, look, this guy has never gotten us out of the second round. My response to that, Sam and Avalon, is how much of it is Embiid and how much of it is his teammates. My number one person to blame for you losing in the second round was James Harden. You could tell me all you want, James Harden, that you won us 2 of those games. You still lost 4 others. I need James Harden to show up for 4 games, not for 2.5 games. I'm with you about Tobias Harris. I think that Tobias Harris has run its course in terms of his value. I think that what he meant to this team was important previously, but his value has run its course and he has an expiration date, and that was about a few months ago. You probably should have traded him at the deadline, but you didn't have any takers, so you were stuck with him, and he let you down in the postseason, specifically in the Celtics series. I'm not bringing Harden back either. I think that if Daryl Morey is as good of an executive as he is supposed to be, right? Daryl Morey got rid of Al Horford's contract. He got rid of Chris Paul's contract in Houston. I'm sure he could find a way to get rid of Tobias Harris and get something in return of value for him that maybe we don't see right now. But Sam and Avalon, I would suggest if you want to implode and hit a reset button with Maxey, you got to wait 1 more year because you're not going to get the full value. Because the only value of hitting a reset button and hitting that reboot with Embiid is if you do it in a year, you have a first round pick. And right now, you don't have a first round pick. And that's a problem. Serious problem. Do you really want the Nets to get that first round pick, high pick, because you imploded a year too early? Dan EHT chimes in at 609-403-0973. Says, big game for Nola tonight. Keep the Tigers under 10 runs and they got a shot. Nola's a conundrum because, if he just allows no more than 4 runs, they could probably win the game. I mean, they're going against a pitcher with a 7 ERA. You're telling me they should score at least 5 runs tonight? I don't need Nolan to be perfect. I just need Nolan not to give me more than 4 runs. If that's too much to ask, then maybe the Aaron Nola era is over in Philadelphia. Look, I'm not an Aaron Nola hater. I think he has a tremendous value for this organization. He is an innings eater. He is a guy who has consistently given you numerous very good seasons. He's not an elite pitcher. He's not an all-time great. He's not going to go in the Phillies Wall of Fame or anything like that, probably. But he's still a good pitcher. And if he could just get his head out of the sand, stop being an ostrich, then maybe we have a chance. I'm sure Mike Gill will talk about on the Phillies tonight. Tomorrow on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig. Wrapping up the show. Don't forget tonight's Stanley Cup Finals Game 2. Coverage begins at 7:30 tonight on 97.3 ESPN.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com. Powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.